Greetings friends, I hope this video finds you well. Today I will be unboxing, installing, and doing an overview of the EVGA RTX 3090 for the Win 3 Ultra. I signed up on the EVGA website to be notified of availability back in early October. I received that email on December 21st, and I was given 8 hours to make the purchase, or else it would go to the next person in line. In my opinion, this is a great looking card. I really like the design. And as you'll see here in a minute when I do the size comparison, while it is large, there are other cards that are just as big. As you can see here, I'm comparing it against my old card, which was the ASUS ROG Strix 2080 Ti, and then the card I had before that, which was the EVGA for the Win 1080 non-Ti version. So as you can see, the Strix card is just as large, and I think it was actually a little bit longer. The 3090 is definitely taller than the 2080 Ti, the ROG Strix version. But as far as the width and the length, I think they're pretty close. And as you can see in this shot, I think the Strix is just a tad longer. The install is pretty straightforward, just removing the old card and replacing it with a new one. I do want to point out that the 3090 requires 3 8-pin power connections, and they do give you an adapter to where you can go from 1 to 2, and I did use that coming off of one of my feeds. I did the best I could with the routing of the power cables, as you gotta run 3 of them around the back of the card. My 1080 EVGA for the Win did have a power link adapter made for it, to where you could plug it in as like a little piece of plastic, and then it would move the power connections to the back of the card. That's probably not going to work in my case because I don't have a lot of room, but if you have a larger case, maybe they will develop something like that in the future, and it could make this a little cleaner. Here's a couple of 3D Mark benchmarks comparing the two cards. As you can see, the 3090 is significantly faster in ray tracing, and then also just in the overall performance here in Time Spy. Wanted to provide a quick overview on the EVGA Precision X1. This is the software that you can load, and you can control all the different aspects of your EVGA video card and maybe other things as well. I'm assuming maybe if you had an EVGA motherboard or other components from EVGA, they may be supported by this as well. This is the first time I've used this, so I'm not sure on that. But anyway, when you first load it up, this is what you get. You can see across the top, I've got my video card, LED controls, hardware monitor, and then also power. So it tells you what you're looking at here. I'm looking at the RTX 3090, for the Win 3 Ultra. This is my current memory clock voltage and then my target. So I had this set to just the default profile, the one that's loaded out of the box. And you can see over here to the right, you have 0 through 9. So you have 10 different profile presets that you can create. So whether that be for different games, different applications, whatever, you can set up different profiles. Under the setup, you can set preferences like, do you want this to start with the Windows? Do you want it to start minimized? Things like that, whether it shows the splash screen or not when it's loading up. And then you can also do hotkeys for profiles. And then the interface, you can change language, change the skin, transparency, things like that. And then down here in the bottom part, you can see my current fan speeds. And if I want them to be linked, currently they're set to auto, and this is on idle, so it's not really needed to spin up right now. If you click the ICX button, this will show you the temperature information for all the different components on the board. I thought this was really, really cool. And then you have these left and right arrows down here at the bottom as well. So you can go to your temp tuner. You can set a custom fan curve control. So again, this is just the default one. But if you wanted to control how fast the fans were operating at certain temperatures, you can create your own control. And you can do that by fan. So this one has 3 fans on it. So I thought that was really, really cool, how customizable this is. And then you got your voltage tuner. So you can, I guess if you're doing some overclocking, tweaking like that, you can come in here and mess with the voltage frequency. I'm guessing is what the F is, since it says frequency here. I've not messed with this yet. So, and then you can also scan, and it'll tell you. You see it stop there for a second. Yeah, it'll test it at different core clock frequencies. So as you're playing with the overclocking or changing the frequencies of the memory or the GPU or the voltage, you can actually scan it and it'll tell you if it should work or not. So pretty cool. And then here you can set custom temp colors. So if you're using the RGB, the LED RGB settings for temperature, you can set what those colors are. And then you can also, if you want to limit the frame rate for whatever reason, you can do that in here as well. And then LED. So you've got, so for this particular EVGA card, there's an edge. You see earlier in the video, there's LEDs on the edge. There's one on the top, on the back plate, and there's also one on the end, which depending on your case, you may not be able to see that well. Mine, you can't really see it because it's so close to my AIO cooler. And then this one here, I'm assuming this is if you have some kind of other EVGA strip lighting, which I do not. So I'm not exactly sure, but I think that's what it is. And you've got a bunch of different options here. As you can see, these are all presets. And here's that temperature one, the one you can assign the colors for the different temperatures and the other advanced settings. And then you can, depending on which one you have selected, you can change the colors. Like you can, for the color stack, you can go up to 7 and you can choose what those colors are. And you can see here I have this one to color stack. I have this one to static, which is just a blue. This one is also the color stack, which I can't really see too well on my board because of the way it is in my case. So then you control the brightness and the speed. So very, very customizable. You can also link all of these. So if you want them doing the same thing, you just click this little button here and this chain will go together, and that means they're all linked and they'll be in unison, doing the same thing. Hardware monitor. So this will tell you your current statistics on your board. So FPS, things like that. And then power. So I initially thought this was like something to do with my current power draw or something like that. It's not. So what you do is you hit this scan button, and it takes just a few seconds. It's going to scan your system, and it'll pick up your power draw for your GPU, CPU, and if you have hard drives or SSDs and how many. Now I know this is probably just an estimation because I don't know if it's where it's pulling this exactly because it doesn't show you the values. And you can also state if your CPU is overclocked or not, so which mine is not. I wish it did have options for number of fans or maybe even the size of your fans. And then also if you're using like an AIO all-in-one water cooler for your CPU, or if you're using a full-blown water cooling loop, we should add some of those options in here too, because those are going to add to your overall power usage and how big of a power supply you may need. But regardless, you can tweak this to match your system as close as possible. And then when you hit the submit button, it'll take you out to the EVGA website, and it will give you recommended power supplies that will meet your power demands. So you can see here, this is telling me I can go as low as a 610, and then of course it goes all the way up to a 650. Now I'm running an 850, tight gold or titanium, I don't remember. I have to go and look at my gear list, but or it might be a platinum, sorry, I think it's a platinum 850. So that way I have plenty of overhead for anything that I may add in the future. But I wouldn't recommend anything lower than like a 750 or an 800 if you're planning on doing an i9 with a 3090. That way you just got plenty of overhead, because the closer you run your actual system load to the full capacity of the power supply, the closer those are, the harder your PSU is going to work, and it could limit its lifespan, and you could have issues. So it's always good to have some overhead. Always add in a little bit of overhead whenever you're planning out a build. And lastly, down here on the bottom right, so the OSD toggle button, if you want to allow the on-screen display of the graphics card statistics while you're in a game, this is what this toggle will do. I don't think it's supported in all games, and I think it even mentions here over supported gaming titles. I'm not sure what that is. There may be a list on the EVGA website. I haven't looked at that yet. The HWM, this, you can toggle the hardware monitoring on and off. I guess if you don't want it using system resources in the background, or if you're not going to use that in the OSD, the on-screen display in a game, maybe you wouldn't want that on. Not sure exactly. LED sync, again, this will sync all of the LEDs in your system, assuming they're all on a supported EVGA controller. But I don't have that. I'm using Corsair fans and Corsair LED strips on my PC, so that's not something I had the chance to test. And then boost lock. If for whatever reason you want your card to run at maximum boost frequency all the time, this boost lock will do that. So it'll kick everything up all the way to the maximum boost frequency that either is default or that you've overclocked it to. This could be good for, like, I think it mentions either overclocking or benchmarking of the graphics card. So not something I would want on all the time, just because if I'm sitting here web browsing or whatnot, I don't want the card operating at 100% with the fans running at the higher RPM and things like that. So, and then just at the very bottom here, you can load profiles. You can set it back to default, and then you can also apply the current settings if you have changed them, or save to a new profile. And the way you do that is you select the profile, do all your configurations, save it, That way it'll save it under these. I wish you could name these, you know, actually give them an actual name, like maybe for a game or an application or something like that. Maybe it says right click, but yeah, don't see a way to do that, but so maybe that's something they'll add in the future. But just wanted to give you that overview. It's a very cool piece of software, and I may mess around with overclocking a little bit just to see how far I can push the card, and maybe do some more 3D marks and things like that on it. But for my normal day-to-day use, I'll just leave it at default because it'll overclock a little bit out of the box with a default profile anyway. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this, please consider hitting that like button, and if you want to follow along with me as I make more content for 2021, hit that subscribe button as well. Until next time.